Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back. And today we are having fun with this beauty right here. This is the newest release from Marta Lipkowska, Maremi's Small Art. It is Magical Forest Stories. So today we are working out of this beautiful book. And so I've already got started. I took Marta's idea about the plastic envelopes, and they are wonderful. So what I do is I put a piece of the book that has just got words on it, and I make a pocket so that I can keep a big envelope here for my bigger pieces. And then I have on here temporarily affixed a smaller envelope for the smaller pieces. So taking that idea from Marta was really smart, and it's really made my life easier. Because I had these pockets, but everything was stuffed into the pockets, and they would kind of fall this way and that way. So by having them in these plastic envelopes, I got a set on Amazon. They work for these books, but then I needed something for my bills as well, for my paperwork and my instruction booklets on different things. So it's been a wonderful investment for both. So this is a book, this is one of my favorites that she's put out. And as you can see, the graphics are just beautiful. She's got a lot of pages here. It's very thick. So she's got everything from flowers, woodland scenes, little extras, and I have already started cutting up this book. So you can see there's something for everyone. Beautiful portal windows, little extras, fun characters. You can put them into any scene. Today we are working mainly with showing you how to embed characters and things to create dimension and depth. We've got some animals and mushrooms, beautiful characters. She's really outdone herself with this book, in my opinion. It is my favorite so far. And this is the reason why it's my favorite. It's images such as these that are just so magical. So there is so much that you can do with this book that today we are working with only this book. Sometimes I will do a crossover, but we're working only with this book today. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Now what I have done already is I've got this prepped so that you don't have to watch me do the engineering and the logistics. And when I say that, I've got things already cut out and things already cut and things already cut. So in a moment, you're gonna get to see why these things are cut. So when I look at a page, I look at it to see what are the possibilities, but I don't want to just put something down. I want to really stretch my imagination. So that is beautiful to be able to do that. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to embed images inside of other images. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you're gonna see that I've done this before. And it is so much fun to take a piece of paper and to give it depth. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're gonna take this beauty right here and we're gonna embed her into the portal so that she's behind all of this. And there's a way that you can do it to make it look believable. So we're gonna take one-dimensional paper and we're gonna give it dimension. We're gonna do it in several ways. So what I wanna do first is I wanna get this page down, but I wanna avoid these areas and putting glue so that it still leaves me the options to embed images in there. So I'm going to just glue around the edges, which is gonna get it affixed, but in such a way that it doesn't impede what I want to do in the future. So we've just got these edges glued. And my name is Kelly, by the way. So thank you for joining me. Now I've got the whole image of her cut out because I want options. But I may not need the whole image to show. So what I mean by that is I want to get her behind these leaves, behind these flowers, inside this portal. So in order to achieve that, I had to cut around these leaves so that I could put her inside. So I've cut all along here. I'm tucking her in. I'm gonna get her all the way down. And the reason is because I don't want her just in the portal. I want to tilt her so that she's actually peeking out at the person looking at this collage. So she's not just there. If I had her straight like this, she's just there. But if I tilt her, not only do you see more of her beauty back here that Marta's added to her hat, but she looks like she's peeking out, which is exactly what I want. Now I don't want these leaves to cover her face, so they're in a perfect position right here, and she's tucked in behind this paper. So by cutting all this out, I've actually tucked her in, and she's now inside the portal. So let's take her out and look at the difference. She can be sitting there, but I don't want her just there. I want to draw some interest by putting her inside the portal. And I call it a portal because that's what it looks like to me. And now she's not only inside the portal, but she's behind all this foliage and fauna, and it pushes her into the background. Now what's interesting is I can only see her face. So she's got a lot of beauty that is also attached to her that we're not going to see. So what I want to do is because I want to use that beauty for another journal. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out so it's available for me to use in the future. And that way I don't waste these precious images. It also allows me to get her in here a lot easier. So again, instead of putting her right here where she's just seen, she's actually actively peeking out. So I'm going to go ahead and put her down in that position right there, and then glue these leaves down and these flowers so that she's tucked in and permanently down. So this is something you can do in order to get something to look like it's behind something else. And we're going to do several instances of that. So there she is peeking. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue these parts down. Now if you wanted them to be 3D and popping up, like if they were wings, that kind of thing, you could do that. And these leaves are just framing her face. So that's how you take an image and embed it behind others to make it look like it's inside. And you can do that technique with any image. We're going to take this beauty, and instead of just putting her there on the top, we're actually going to embed her here. And I just have to decide how much of her do I want to show. And I do want those beautiful magical mushrooms to show, but I don't want her coming up above the top of the page. So another thing that I've done is on some of these images, because the background is so dark and she's going to be up against a dark background. The way you get these pieces to meld to look like they belong there is you use your distressed ink and go along the edges. So not only does that get rid of the white line that you may have fussy cut a little bit too large, but it also too gives it a dark line that blends with a dark background. If she had a light background, I would be using vintage photo, but I'm actually using black soot, and I'm doing it on purpose. You would think such a brightly colored image would be ruined with black soot, making it look like it's burnt or dirty, but that's not the case. It actually allows it to blend into this dark background. So these are tricks that you can use to get your papers. See, there's a white edge there that just went away just because I used the black soot. So you can get rid of some white lines that are there because when you fussy cut, you didn't get quite close enough to the image. And by using that black soot, I've allowed her to fit better with the background. And then the light areas stand out just a little bit more. So we're gonna get her in here. And I'm gonna put her just like that. I love these images. These are right along the lines of the artwork that I love. And I want to get her just a little bit tilted. Just slightly tilted. Let's see what else we have. Now I've got this little guy who's beautiful, but the way Marta created him, he is an edge piece. Now because he is so white, to get him to blend and to belong to this background, I had to add some black soot on his edges. You see that? So by adding the black soot on his edges, he now belongs to this dark background. He doesn't stand out so much and look like he's just a piece of paper pasted there. It actually gives it a dimensional quality that makes it meld. So because he's an edge piece, I have nowhere else to put him other than up here or possibly over here. But then it looks like half of him is missing. So by putting him down here, he's more believable. Now we've got this terrarium here. And I have done the black soot on the edges of this as well, so that again, it blends with the darker background. Because it was very light, it was standing out way too much, so I added the black soot. Now before I get this down, this beauty, and I'm glad this didn't glue all the way down because it allows me to tuck it in a little bit behind the rabbit's face to give it a little bit of looking like it's behind the rabbit rather than beside it. So that's something else. You can put images on top of other images. Now this is a terrarium that's got some mushrooms and lights and fir trees back in the background. And we've got this little beauty here. And I have to decide how far do I want her to go into that terrarium. Do I want her to be outside it, which is where she is right now? Do I want her to be partially close to it, which by putting part of her dress behind this mushroom, she looks like she's further in the distance. But if I was to take her all the way, and place her behind all this foliage, she now looks like she's further into the distance. Now here's my decision. Do I want to leave her like that, or do I want her inside the terrarium? And there's a way you can do it. There's two ways. There's the difficult way and there's the simple way. So I've already got her behind a lot of what looks like it's inside this terrarium. So she looks like she's right at the edge rather than further forward. But if I wanted to get her to look like she's actually inside the terrarium, I could cut along each side of each of these lines and slip her in, but these lines are so tiny, they're thread-like, that would be almost impossible to cut out and to get it to work. You could, but it would be difficult because the lines are so tiny. Now, to get her to look like she's actually inside the terrarium, I can draw the lines over her and then she's inside the terrarium. But what I have to decide is, where do I want the lines to end up? The way they're drawn, one of these lines is going to hit part of her face. These are going to be outside of her face, which is okay. But you'd have to extend the lines all the way through her face and through her body to get it look like she's inside this terrarium. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a pen, or maybe even a pencil, to decide how I want to draw these lines. So what I want to do first is I want to get a scrap piece of paper that is the same as this paper. And I've got some scraps right here. So let's see. Since there's nothing here for me to use on that scrap, I'm gonna go ahead and use that to decide. So you wanna swatch your pens on the same paper you're going to be using. So that's what the black would look like. That's the gray. That's the brown. And then this is just straight pencil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see which of these looks closest to the lines that Marta has drawn. The gray is good, but I lose control because it is permanent. It is marker. I think that I have more control if I use the pencil. The pencil is almost a perfect match along with the gray. The brown is too much of a different color. The black is too stark. So the gray and the pencil are very soft, but the pencil is going to give me better room. So what I want to do first is get her glued in position to where the lines are not going to be straight down the middle of her face. And this is the perfect position for that. It's gonna go right on the edge of her face and then straight down her body. So I'm gonna go ahead and get her down there so that she's lined up perfectly. So now she looks like she's in and amongst, but let's see if I can remedy something that I'm seeing. I want to get her behind this mushroom, her dress behind that mushroom. So it looks like she's really back behind that foliage, that this mushroom is on top. Okay, so she's in and amongst all of this, but I want to draw her back to where she's inside the terrarium. So let's see if I can get away with that. So I'm going to take this line and extend it all the way down. And this may not work. I may not be able to see it. And then connect to this line right down here. Then I'm going to take this line and draw it straight through. And straight down. I'm going to take this line and draw it straight down. This line and draw it straight down. This line and draw it straight down. This line and draw it to connect to that one. This line's connecting to that one. So by drawing those lines over her, she now looks like she's inside that terrarium. I'm gonna go ahead now that I've done that and get this glued down. So without the lines, she looks like she's in front of the terrarium. By adding the lines and continuing that terrarium bars over her, she's now inside that terrarium. And these are tricks that you can use to create depth that wasn't there on the original image. So I've got some flowers here, or actual mushrooms. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these down. I love these images and their colors because they look so magical. The way Marta's done these. This is some of my favorite genre, is the magical and the forest folk. I'm gonna get the tip, that metal piece of that terrarium to go down. I'm gonna go ahead and glue his cheek down so he's more flush with the page. Some of these things back up. Now I do have this little guy here. He's a sweet little bird. She's got all sizes of birds. Let me see if I can't find that page so you guys can see the beauty and the extras that she has created. Let's see, let's just flip through here real quick. And I'm sure you guys are not gonna mind all these beautiful images that she's gifted us. And I was gonna say gave to us, but it is a true gift. There's the moths. Some more magical images. There's some more of the animals. There it is right there, the birds. Just all different sorts and in different positions, which really allow you to pop up your collages and your images, your creations. Okay, so I'm going to add him to this mossy area like he's perching because his feet are in a perfect position, and those feet were so tough to fussy cut, but I did it, y'all. I did it. Sometimes I get overwhelmed with the amount of fussy cutting that I need to do to get something to be exactly the way I want it to be. And I'll take it in stages. I'll start it, I'll walk away, take a break, and come back to it, and it just works. So if you get overwhelmed, just walk away and do something else, and then come back to it. And then he looks like he's perched on that moss. Now I've got some things I want to add as I'm dropping other things. I've got some of these leaves here, and I don't know if I want to add them or not. By maybe tucking them in. Let's just play with a couple and see what I want to do. This edge is cut, and I probably did that because I wanted to use it that way. I wanted to tuck some of these in. Because they have a golden, shiny hue to them. Let's add 3 and see what that does. Usually when you're doing things in threes, it is a good number. I like the gold shiny quality these have. I'm gonna pull this one out and see. That one's damaged. I'm gonna trim that off. It's gonna be underneath, so it's not any big deal. But I've also got this edge here. It's a little bit wonky, so I'm gonna trim it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is get some glue and then I'll start fussing with them. I'm putting the glue on the spine of the leaf because that's where it's going to hold itself a lot better. Met some resistance. So let's see. These are some things that you have to work out sometimes. And I'm going to cut that tip off because it's a little bit wonky. I was playing with some of my lunar paste. I've got the gold, the silver, and the copper that you can use with stencils or you can use just straight on the page. I took some of the lunar paste with some parchment paper and just made a whole slatherings of some. And then when it dried, it started to peel off. But I loved the peelings of the way this metallic paste was peeling off. And I thought I could use this in art journals by taking the peelings and then just adding them to different areas of my collages. And they pull apart real easy. And you can just use them in strategic places. And I'm not so sure I'm going to use them on this one. I wanted to look and see exactly how it laid down on the page because I would need to glue these down. I'm not quite sure I like the look of it. It's an interesting concept. But I'm just not quite sure I like how that looks. To me, it ruins Marta's images. It breaks it up and distracts, and I don't like that. So I will find another way to use those, just not on this particular one. So when you think you might want to use an element, put it on there and let it sit. if you immediately recoil like I did when I laid that down, I said, no, that's definitely not what I want to do, then you know that that's not going to work for you. So you can use it somewhere else. Okay. Now I'm going to grab my little ruler that I dropped. Because I do want to add some sparkles. I may use white, but I may not. But I'll get it out just in case. And I'm going to use the copper. Now I do need a piece of paper to get this going because you don't want it to skip on your final pages. So these are just little accents to make the page pop. To give it some light, some whimsy. Some sparkle. I don't want to do too much. Because the artistry on here is already beautiful. But allows you to add some light and some whimsy. Just to punch up the page. I'll give him a little sparkle. And we'll give these girls a little sparkle. These gel pens are really wonderful. They will go over almost anything. Even your three-dimensional metal pieces will take the gel pen. You can add some sparkle to your gel, to your metal pieces, taking gold and giving it a copper hue. Okay, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. I have not come up with a name for this beauty just yet. But it was so much fun to build with you guys. So thank you for coming along on this journey with me. I appreciate your time, and I hope you have enjoyed this process as well. And I will see you on the next one.